focus that has been mentioned in the press release, and it's absolutely about focus these days in big pharma, in mid-sized pharma, in biotech. And this is a great deal for Novartis. They signaled it some time ago, which was the right thing to do to make sure people were getting ready. And now they've announced it. And it really allows Novartis itself to focus on being an innovative medicines company, which means that they focus on innovation and the things that the chief executive and the board of Novartis worry about are innovative medicines and innovation. It's a very different business from generic medicines and biosimilars, which is the business of Sandoz. And so I think it's a great thing. It gives more focus to the management team, which is, I think, the limiting factor these days, to make sure that all of the top management are worrying about the right things and taking the right strategic action for the innovative medicines business.
You can certainly see, based on that explanation, that this could be really beneficial for Novartis, given that it will allow them to focus on these potentially much more high-value areas. What about Sandoz? For investors who are listening to this news, thinking about potentially getting involved down the line when it comes to market, what kind of business is Sandoz? What kind of growth and profitability outlook can investors expect there?
It's a different style of outlook. It's more stable, less risk, obviously, because you're not taking as much bets on innovation. But it's a stable, and generics and certainly biosimilars is about scale and focus as well. But it's a different type of focus. It's a very aggressive commercial focus to make sure that the cost structure is absolutely what it needs to be, and that the competitiveness is there, and the speed and agility to act in generics and biosimilars is there. And I think that's a different type of focus to innovation and taking risk as a corporate entity. And so I think that's good for Sandoz. I think the fact that it's large helps in generics because it is a scale business. So and there's always going to be demand for generics because all of these innovative molecules that Novartis and others are generating will go off patent. So it's a good long-term stable business as long as they can get their focus and their cost structure to suit it and not be a kind of almost big pharma. I think has a little bit of a tradition of being a little bit gentle on its cost structure because it is so profitable. You can't afford to do that in generics. And I think this will allow Sandoz to be more focused, more cost efficient, and that'll be better for the shareholders.
John, just a brief one, just on disclosure. I know Novasecta works with a lot of pharma leaders. Do you have any involvement with Novartis at this point, or Sandoz?
No, just let's be clear on that one. I mean, we know folk at Novartis, we know folk in pretty much every pharma company in the world, but we haven't got any consulting relationships with them. No.
Great. So let me ask you the follow-up. Why IPO it when you don't know what markets are going to look like this far out? Why not look for a trade sale?
I think the trade sale is harder because of simply the other generics players. That the scale would be almost too large if they ended up with a trade sale, and who would buy it? Some of the other generics companies are already wrestling with scale, and there's always, in economies of scale, I think there's a certain size that you get when you're good. And I think the other point about trade sale is that you end up with potentially regulatory complications and antitrust complications, which they don't want. So I think the IPO feels like the right solution here. It's a stable company. It's got its own management team. It knows what it's doing. It knows what it has to do. The complications of a post-merger integration are going to put a drag on the earnings if it did happen, and it could delay the deal. And they need to get this done sharply, quickly, and easily. So I feel that IPO is the right way to go for these guys.
Yeah, but they're talking second half of 2023. That doesn't sound like an accelerated program, given that they know this business intimately.
I think these things take time. I agree. It's perhaps managing expectations. I think everybody's always in a hurry for these things. So if you put it into the second half of 2023 and deliver a little bit earlier than that, then everybody's happy. If you say it's going to be half 1/23, which is just around the corner, by the way, we're already nearly in September, then perhaps people will get a little bit more impatient. I think it's just sensible managing of expectations.
John, any sense on valuation? We're looking at sales of $9.6 billion in 2021. And second part to the question, we've seen a somewhat similar spinoff from GSK earlier this year in the form of Haleon. What comparisons would you draw, if any, between these two deals?
Well, I think that the similarity is the fact that the innovative pharma business is something that it deserves focus. And that's what GSK decided with its consumer part going off to Haleon, and that's what Novartis has decided with its generics part going off with Sandoz. And so these were already business units within the operation. So, they had their own management teams and so on. And I think what will happen is that the valuation might bubble up and down a bit, but it will settle down to a regular generics biosimilar valuation multiple that is expected. I mean, as you well know, that the biotech index has been taking a rough ride over the first quarter. So, and the IPOs, certainly for biotech, have not been that great. But I think this is a little bit different because it is a generics business that's IPOing, and that is not as risky or uncertain as a biotech IPO. So I think it'll be judged fairly on the fact that it's a much more solid, stable, less risky, with less upside business than an innovative pharmaceuticals business.
Hi, I'm Joanna Bersecci, and thank you for watching. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more from CNBC International. Thank you for watching.